would like to talk about a very extraordinary person, a gentleman of the Indian Army, and his name is Kuldeep Singh Chandpuri. Uh, Kuldeep Singh has been a very cool and calm type of commanding officer, and he ex, uh, you know, showed the exemplary courage in the battlefield, and that is what makes him a recipient of Mahavir Chakra. And this was during the Battle of Longewala with Pakistan in 1971. So, what unfolded and how the courage and valor was demonstrated by Kuldeep Singh, we will discuss in this edition. Major Kuldeep Singh was the army major at that time, and he served for many years even after the war. But as you can see that he has many citations. More prominent ones are the Mahavir Chakra, and this was awarded after the battle, about which we will discuss more in detail, and what actually happened on the battlefield, which made him extraordinary, and that is why he was proposed for a gallantry award, and he was in the end awarded the Mahavir Chakra. And we will also discuss what led to this battle, what happened after that, and what were the drawbacks on both sides, so that we give equal credit to everyone. And so the battle started in 1971, but as many of us know that the battle with Pakistan was primarily on the eastern sector, which is now known as Bangladesh. So most of the Indian army was deployed on the eastern border of India, whereas the Pakistan wanted to open the Western Front. And the Pakistan intention was that if the Western Front is also opened up, and that will create chaos in the Indian army, and they will be able to then control, win over and subsequently control a part of India, and then get onto the negotiation on the negotiation table. Um, so the Longo Wall is a very frontier post of India, and it is in the middle of desert. It's actually middle of nowhere, and I think we have to also understand why such a post is there in the first place, and why Pakistan decided to invade through Longewala, which is in Rajasthan. And Longewala post is originally a post which was managed by BSF. Even today, Longewala post has been managed by BSF. But during the war in 1971, this was vacated by BSF, and then Indian Army had acquired that particular post. This post is about 18 kilometers from the international border between India and Pakistan. During the 1971 war, both India and Pakistan declared that Thar Desert, which is one of the major deserts in the world, it is not fit for any major invasion because of various factors. Very hot during summer, it's very cold during winters, and there are no resources. There are no roads available. It's all barren land, and it's all desert. uh, in the Thar desert, the sand dunes are there, and if there is a storm, the sandstorm, these are legendary because you can't even see your hand. So both India and Pakistan declared that it is not a battleground. Yet Pakistan decided to invade through this area in 1971, and it's on the desert side. So, we have to also understand what are the geographical location of this particular post. So as you can see, I'm trying to demonstrate to you that there is an international border between India and Pakistan. However, if you look closely, the border, there are hardly any town because it's all desert area. And the last post is F, which is the Longewala, and the Indian army was also trying to invade Pakistan, but Pakistan invaded India. The objective was that there is a city on the Pakistan side called Rahim Yar Khan, which has a major railway line connecting Lahore with Karachi. So India intention was in 1971 to capture this town, and yet And by doing that, they will be able to control the railway traffic, which takes supplies from the port city of Karachi up north to the battlefield, battle-trodden countries. So there was a strategic armament which was being placed at point E. So most of the Indian army was concentrated on point E, and point F is where the Longewala post is situated, where Major Kuldeep Singh took charge with just 120 soldiers. His job was to just guard this, and there was no likelihood of any frontline invasion that can expect from this point. So it was just managing the post and guarding the international border. And you see these point E and F, if you win over these points, then point G is a major town in India called Jaisalmer. And then you get onto the road infrastructure, bridges, all the supplies which if enemy is able to invade India and win over point E, F, and G, then enemy will be able to use the infrastructure which was already available. So the invasion was planned by Pakistan uh, by a major task force which comprised of the armor corps and also a major infantry. So we will talk about that in a bit. But if you are able to win Jaisalmer, then your job of reaching New Delhi, which is the capital of India, is a lot easier because you have straight road to reach these cities. Major Kuldeep Singh used to be part of 23rd Battalion of Punjab Regiment. At this point in time, we will also talk about what regiment Major Kuldeep Singh belonged. It's very, very important to understand the type of people that work in this regiment even today. So this regiment was erected by, in fact, there are two dates. One was the King of Patiala in 1705, and later the British also erected a battalion which was also called Punjab Regiment way back in 1761. So if you consider the date of commencement of 23rd Battalion, which is Punjab Regiment, as 1705, then this is 313-year-old battalion. So you can very well imagine it is the oldest military battalion in India, considering 1705 as a date of formation. And because of being among the first few battalions of the Indian Army with very rich and vast history, many citations, many gallantry awards, there is always a peer pressure on people to show exemplary courage. So this is a battalion Major Kuldeep Singh belonged, and the people, the training, when they fight together, the kind of support you get is all exemplary in 23rd Battalion of Punjab Regiment. So 23rd Battalion was given task of guarding the western border, and Major Kuldeep Singh Chandpuri was given a task to guard the Longewala post with only 120 Indian soldiers. So, what was building up, and that created the invasion of Longewala? See, basically, what was going on that before 1971, there are two Pakistan. One was West Pakistan, other was the East Pakistan. And there was a sort of a civil war going on within Pakistan because of the political reasons and social reasons. And a lot of refugees were coming into India, and that was becoming a big problem. So in 1971, a point reached where it was unbearable to support so many refugees from the East Pakistan into India, and that is why India intervened, and the battle between India and Pakistan took place. And it was a decisive victory after 18 days of war, where a new country was born, which is now called Bangladesh. So East Pakistan was converted into Bangladesh. When the Pakistan saw imminent defeat, they thought that we will open up the western front. That means they will invade from the West Pakistan side on the western border of India. that will create a chaos or mayhem within Indian army. But their intelligence was not as strong. They were, in fact, I would say the Pakistani intelligence failed to predict the preparedness of Indian army. Indian army was from the beginning prepared on two-front war at that point in time. And that is why their deployment on the eastern border as well as on the western border was adequate, which the Pakistani invasion did not account for, and they decided to invade through the most difficult terrain, which is a desert, and they decided to invade India. So I bring the map once again. As you can see that when the column actually entered India, and they decided to invade from point F, which is Longewala, they did not know what was the terrain in Longewala. Their intelligence was not given adequately to their commanding officers. However, the commanding officers of the invasion force were basically creating a lot of propaganda within themselves, saying that it will be so easy to win over India that they will reach point G, which is Jaisalmer, in the morning. They will have their breakfast in the morning at Jaisalmer. They will have lunch in Jaipur, and they will have their evening tea in Delhi or probably dinner. So their plan and their bravado or their propaganda in their ranks was that by evening, by just one day, they will be able to bring India to its knees, and they will win over the capital and all that. So with that thought in mind, they started approaching the Indian border. They crossed the Indian border. On the other hand, there were a lot of clear intelligence gathering done by Indian forces. The Indian Air Force base was at Pathankot and also Jaisalmer. Jaisalmer airfield was not operationalized in 1971. Um, in fact, the aircrafts were moved back from the front line to a much safer location. However, there were army aircraft which were doing reconnaissance, and they actually predicted the build-up on the Pakistan side, and that is why the Indian forces were on very, very high alert. You will be amazed to see the size of the invasion which came from the Western Front into India. The invasionary size of the invasion itself was 20 kilometers long, and it was consisting of 3,000 soldiers, 500 trucks, and 60 tanks, which were Sherman tanks and also the Chinese T-59 tanks. And there were a lot of other armored personnel carrier as part of the contingent. And with this huge force, the entire brigade level force, they approached Longewala, and when they were coming towards the post, their movement was noticed by the reconnaissance military aircraft, and it was reported to the concerned authority. So the Indian forces were very, very well alert, and Major Kuldeep Singh knew that the force is going to come on his post, they will attack. So at that point in time, the commanding officers had given Major Kuldeep Singh Chandpuri two options. One, to hold on and fight it out till the time you can, or vacate the post and join the rest of the army. So Kuldeep Singh, being a brave soldier, a brave person himself, he decided to hold on, and he decided to fight such a big army with just 120 men. Uh, there was not sufficient time to build the defensive parameter around it. So they hastily put the mines which were very visible. And in the end, the anti-tank mines were identified by the Pakistani engineers, and they were deactivated. So in a nutshell, the bravery was the only weapon these 120 men had. Major Chandpuri said that hey, the Pakistani invasion forces are coming to us. and they are telling their people that hey, within one day they will defeat India because they are such a huge column of armored vehicle and so many soldiers. So if you want to vacate the post, you can go back and join the rest of the army. But none of these 120 men vacated the post. They were standing with Major Kuldeep Singh in order to guard that post and also fight it out with the enemy. The the Indian defenses were 120 soldiers. They had only two machine guns. They had two mortar launchers, the 81 mortar launchers. They also had four shoulder fire rockets, which, when the battle started, the shoulder fire rockets came very handy because using the rockets they were able to uh, destroy some of these tanks. Later, on the second day, when the battle started, the reinforcement were provided, but it was not too much of a reinforcement. It was two jeeps with 106 guns, recoilless guns were also provided to them, and three AMX light tanks, which were no match to the might of tanks that Pakistani had that time. But nevertheless, the next day this was also provided to this Major Kuldeep Singh. Now, if you see the odds against India is 1 to 25, you can imagine, you know, there's such a big invasion which is coming, and only 120 men are going to guard the entire invasionary force of Pakistan. Odds are totally against India. Odds are totally against Major Kuldeep Singh. Yet he decided to stay on, and all his 119 men decided to stay on and fight it out, which is definitely a very courageous thing to do. And also, they were low on ammo. They had only two machine guns, which is useless against the tanks. And some say that the Battle of Longewala is comparable to the Thermopylae, or the famous 300 of Greek. So it is similar to that. The odds are totally against the Indian guard post and Major Kuldeep Singh. Now we have to also talk about the role of Air Force. Way back in 1971, India was not a very rich country. We were dependent on whatever arms and ammunition was available. We had very limited budget. So we had outdated aircrafts in those days. These were specifically, I will talk about these two aircraft, which are Hunters and Maruts. These are the aircraft which do not have night fight capability. That means they do not have radars fitted into these aircrafts. We didn't have resources, funds to upgrade these aircraft, but we had only these aircraft. So I will talk about much in detail about this battle when it took place, and what is the role of Air Force in winning over this war ultimately. So when the battle really started on December 4th, 1971, the invasion was very well known to the Indian armed forces and Major Kuldeep Singh. Major Kuldeep Singh also sent a front party to trail along with the column, and the front party was using their walkie-talkie to convey each and every step that Pakistanis were taking. At that point in time, it was uh, the Indian forces came to know that the Pakistanis were only talking bravado, but they did not prepare properly for this invasion. For example, their tracks they had on their tanks were not suitable for this kind of sand which was there in Thar Desert. So their tanks were getting buried. There was no, they did not had proper infrastructure to uh, repair their tanks. As a result, some of their tanks rendered useless. Their engine seized because they were exerting too much pressure in the sandy terrain in which they were running. So some of the tanks got disabled just because of the terrain. At the same time, Longewala post was at a height, and Major Kuldeep Singh and his team had prepared very nicely after studying the terrain, defensive positions at a height. So when the column came, the Pakistani invasion column came towards the post, it was complete dark, and they did not. The Pakistani did not see that there are soldiers in this part of the post because they never had any intelligence given back to them. At the same time, that night was a full moon night. So the Indians could see what was going on in the battlefield, whereas Pakistanis had no clue, even though they were so huge in numbers, but they did not know what was going on the Indian side. The Indian soldiers had a lot of nerves. Major Kuldeep Singh told them not to open fire till the time the distance between the post and the tanks, Pakistani invasionary tanks, was merely 15 meters. And when the attack by Indian forces started, the hell broke loose. Pakistani did not know what hit them, and in the first few minutes of the battle, 5 to 6 frontline expensive Sherman tanks were destroyed by the Indian forces. And then the battle started. In a hurry during the night, um, the Indian forces also had 10 camels with them, the BSF camels with them, and they should not be, the animals should not get lost in the enemy territory. So there was a barbed wire which was erected by the Indian forces to prevent camels to escape and get into Pakistan. On the While looking at this barbed wire, the Pakistani felt that the whole post was heavily guarded and there could be mines around it. There was a huge confusion when the battle started. So after the initial attack, when they came to know that the post is guarded and there is a huge army, but they did not know how many. They had no clue that only 120 soldiers are there. The entire frontline column halted any further movement, and they called the engineers to find out if there are mines on the battlefield, because just by looking at this wire, in the process of doing that, they also shot at the camels and they instantly killed 5 camels of the Indian army, which is not a very brave thing to do, just killing the animal. But nevertheless, let's move on. So when the battle continued by trying to see if they can disengage the imaginary mines which they thought they were there, they wasted 2 hours. The invasion actually started at 12, uh, 5 minutes past 12, the midnight of December or early morning of December 5th. The Indian side did not have any air cover, and surprisingly, the Pakistani Air Force also did not came to rescue of their soldiers. So battle grew, and single-handedly, these 120 men halted the entire column of 3,000 soldiers on the Pakistan side, and they fought very bravely for 6 hours. And these 6 hours became very crucial in the entire invasion of Longewala, or the entire invasion of Pakistan in 1971. As the sunrise happened, immediately the hunters and Maroons came, and they started shooting. They scattered the tanks in the battlefield in the desert, and they could pick up what they want to hit and pick and choose and destroy that tank. So there was a complete mayhem on the Pakistani side. They had not even prepared. They completely discounted the Indian Air Force. They did not prepare for any invasion on from the sky. So in the end, it proved that there was a major intelligence failure on the Pakistani side. They were um they just talked bravado, but they did not plan their invasion properly. And within the first 6 hours of the battle, by the time Air Force came, some of the soldiers, foot soldiers, came and surrounded the post of Longewala in a circle, and there were firefight going on between the men of Major Kuldeep Singh and Pakistani soldiers. But when the Air Force arrived, they started shooting each and everything, whatever was visible to them, and they started shooting, destroying the trucks and all that. During this first crucial 6 hours, Major Kuldeep Singh was not only holding and jumping from bunker to bunker during the shootouts. It was very risky to leave any post, but he was basically jumping from bunker to bunker, all around in the entire post, and trying to see if soldiers are, really fighting it out and all that. So he actually played a major role in ensuring, first off, not vacating the post. He decided, he was given a choice that you can come back. He decided to stay and fight it out, knowing that the invasionary force of Pakistan is huge. So, with just 120 men with hardly any armaments, he decided to confront the enemy. Second, he ensured that when the battle was brewing, he ensured that each and every person is motivated to fight it out and destroy the enemy. So he played a major role in ensuring that the morale of the soldiers are kept high during the entire first 6 hours of the battle, which was very crucial to win the war. In the end, the whole day, the Indian Air Force came back, kept coming back the entire day. They kept destroying whatever they could find. Um, Surprisingly, even on the second day of the battle, there was no aircraft, Pakistani aircraft, to stop the Indian Air Force. So during the day, the fight continued on the ground with Major Kuldeep Singh's men and the Air Force in the sky, and complete mayhem on the Pakistani side. When the battle got over after 24 hours, the losses, when it were counted, uh, Pakistani lost 200 soldiers, 500 trucks, and about 32 tanks. So many of the tanks were abandoned by Pakistani. They just ran on foot because those tanks got stuck in the sand. On the other hand, the Indian losses were only two soldiers. They had lost two jeep mounted guns and five camels. So you see, this battle, even with odds of 1 is to 25, turned out to be a total failure of the Pakistani army, which were invading India. I think when as an army or the modern army or even during the ancient times, when you invade a country, you basically prepare for the invasion because the defensive people have to defend their own motherland. But when you invade another country, you have to be very clear about what is your objective, what you want to do. So obviously, this battle proved that Pakistani did not prepare well, intelligently for winning over anything. So their objectivity was missing, the preparedness was very low. They were just only surviving on the propaganda. For this bravery of Major Kuldeep Singh Chandpuri and his entire team of 120, he was given Mahavir Chakra, which is the second highest gallantry award. Uh, Major Kuldeep Singh continued working for the Indian Army and retired as brigadier. This is very, very senior. So even today, hearing this story of Major Kuldeep Singh gives many Indians goosebumps. It's the ultimate story of bravery and courage and valor. This is the picture of the Mahavir Chakra, which was awarded to Major Kuldeep Singh. And this battle also showed that there was a coordination, a perfect coordination between all multiple forces of India. So there was a coordination with Air Force, there was coordination with ground forces, and all border security forces and all that. So the Indian force was very coordinated, whereas on the Pakistani side there was hardly any coordination. Then there was a lot of confusion. Nevertheless, the very fact is that you have only 120 men and then you stood up against uh, armored corps, a major invasionary force of Pakistan, which was as long as 20 kilometers behind, and with so many tanks and so many trucks and so many armored carriers, we had the Indian force had no comparable weapon to stop such a force. Yet they fought it, they stopped it, and they gave major created major casualty on the enemy front without losing much of their resources. Brigadier Kuldeep Singh Chandpuri passed away in 2018. After retirement from the army, he also participated in the upkeeping of his city, which is Chandigarh, and he did many things. He helped the nation by providing a lot of his contribution in terms of leadership role and all that. And in 2018, he succumbed to uh, cancer. He survived with three of his sons and his wife. So, uh, he has been an inspiration, a living legend for most of the Indians. In fact, this battle is the second largest tank battle after Battle of Kursk. So it was a huge tank battle in which it is surprising that the one side used tanks, and the other side only used light machine guns. Unlike the Battle of Kursk, where Germans and the Russians both sides had heavy tanks, but in this one, they were the invasionary force brought tanks, and the defenders did not have any comparable armor to defend. Yet they fought with a lot of grit and valor, and in the end, Punjab Regiment and Major Kuldeep Singh Chandpuri was awarded the citation of Mahavir Chakra. So, friends, this is the end of this video, and we will continue bringing the stories of valor of India to you. Please give your comments, like and share. And if you have any special request, share with us, and we will cover that in the next episode. Until then, I would like to say goodbye.